Hello, and welcome to the Beyond Average Journeys of Growth and Increasing Value interview series. I'm your host, Kristen Carlson, and today I'm joined by Reginald Andre, the visionary leader at the helm of ARK Solvers, a cybersecurity and IT company in Miami, Florida. So, Andre, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And could you kick us off with just a little introduction about you and your business?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start off with how I even got started in the business. I was about 19, 20 years old, and I was working at an electronics store. Have you ever heard of a CompUSA? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep. So I used to work at the store CompUSA, and I was, going to school, and I was working in the sales department. And one day, this guy he comes in and he buys shopping cart after shopping cart after shopping cart full of items. And at the end of the sale, he said, I have no idea how to set this up. Would you mind, setting this up for me? And first of all, I couldn't believe this was for his home because at that time it was probably about $40,000 worth of equipment of electronics. And
Gosh.
I said, yeah, sure, I can, come to your house. I would always do work for friends and family. And the electronics store, they didn't have like a Best Buy, Geek Squad type of things.
Mhm.
So he gives me his address, and it said Miami South Beach. And I had grown up in Miami Gardens, and that's about a 30-minute distance from Miami Beach, and I had never been exposed to that. So here I am, 19 years old, going on the highway to the real Miami, the Miami when you look at TV, that's the Miami that I'm talking about, not where I used to live. And from there, I can remember seeing the cruise ships and the yacht clubs and just all of the luxury. And now I go up into his building, his condominium, and he's on the 17th floor overlooking the entire marina.
Oh
So
my. Wow.
yeah, and I had never been exposed to that. Anytime we were going to go to the beach, my mom is first generation Haitian American, and we would just go to the local beach, but never to Miami Beach. That was like, we never went there. And as I set up his computers and his routers and things like that, one of his friends comes in and is like, "Oh wow, who set this up for you?" And he said, "Andre did." So the following week, I went to his house, to his friend's house, and in a period of 6 months, the guy that I met at this electronics store is sending me all of his friends to set up their computers and networking and TVs and so forth like that. And one day he calls me, he says, "Andre, I didn't tell you this, but I'm a retired 41-year-old multi-millionaire, and I'm going to start a business with you. Whatever you're making at the electronics store, I'm going to double it. And I know you're going to school to become an English teacher, but slow down on school and let's start a business together."
Wow. Awesome. What an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. So I call my mom and I tell her the whole story. And as I mentioned, she's first generation Haitian American. And she's like, "Andre, this is why I came to the United States to give you a better opportunity. Go
Oh,
do it." And fast forward 9 years later, we're the kings of South Beach. Everybody knows us. We're doing IT, computer repair. We're doing cameras, and everything was great. And I go to my boss and I say, the guy I met at the electronics store, and it's like, "Hey, everything is great. My business card says managing partner, my email address says vice president, but there's nothing in writing that actually says that we're partners." And he said, "You know what? You're right. Give me a couple of months and I'll have the attorney draft up something." So I said, "Okay, no problem." So a couple of months later, he asked me to come into his office, and he asked me to close the door. And he said, "Andre, I'm sorry. I have to let you go."
wow.
Kristen, I worked 9 years, 18 hours a days. We were over $1 million in sales building this business. And he lets me go because I actually wanted the partnership in writing.
Oh my. Wow.
So I can remember, in the garage of the building and thinking, what am I going to do? I had a mortgage. My son was 2 year old at the time. I didn't
Oh
even get my last check. He didn't even want to pay me my last check.
my gosh.
And I can remember that quote from the movie Rocky that says, "It's not how hard you get hit, it's how you get back up." So I said,
Exactly.
yeah. So I said to myself, "You know what? I can do this." Like, I had a crazy non-compete. And but I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just go to the, back to my side of the town, and I'm just gonna go ahead. And that's when I created ARK Solvers. And now fast forward 14 years later, we've been actually voted the fastest growing cybersecurity and IT company 3 years in a row, and we're rocking and rolling.
Oh, that sounds great. So really a challenging time, but you work through it. You're resilient. You found a way to start your own business. So how did you get focused on security over just the IT components and infrastructure?
Yeah, so one thing that I was part of a program, and one of the things that I noticed was that the IT was starting to slow down. Windows is not, getting the blue screen. When was the last time you had a blue screen on your computer? Or if you have a Mac, the smiley face. And I started to see that, printers, they weren't, everybody can print. Nobody was calling to say, oh, I can't print. And we were becoming the taxi cab driver in the technology field, where
Mm.
Uber was coming in. And I said, we have to pivot. We just can't continue just doing IT, because soon that business is going to be dead. And that's when we said, you know what, we have to mature our business, we have to mature our clients. And from there, we slowly started to go into the cybersecurity, because not only was there starting to be a less need for an IT guy, but also our clients were starting to get hacked because they didn't have the proper tools, because we never told them about this, because that's when the world shifted to now more cyber attacks. And so that's how we started to do cybersecurity, and of course still IT. Your printer still breaks every once in a while, but it's just not that everyday constant thing.
Right. And there's such a need in the cybersecurity space, right? I think that is the place to be in IT, definitely.
Yes.
So, as you made that change and changed your mindset for, okay, I can let this other business go and start something new, did you have some mentors or what did you use to find that positive, here, I'm going to take it forward versus, kind of dwelling in the pain of what you lost there?
Yeah, so my old boss, which I call him the rich dad, right?
There you go.
So, although we ended the relationship the way we ended, but he taught me a lot. I mean, he really did. He made one time a quote to say, in 6 months, I'll teach you more than school would teach you in 4 years. So, although we were no longer in speaking terms, but I used all of the values that he taught me. He was a New Yorker, and he taught you, 80% of the work is just showing up. And especially here in South Florida and Miami, where we have a very diverse community, you got contractors where you give them the deposit and they'll disappear. And they were a referral. Like, it's not like even you got them off the street. It's like someone referred you to them. And then, you would think that you would get a good person, and no. So he says, look, if we say we're going to be there at 9 o'clock, be there at 9 o'clock. If you said you're going to charge X dollars, and if it goes over a little, stick to your word. This is what the client budgeted for. And they're going to appreciate that and refer you and stay with you so much longer. So I really instilled those New York values that he taught me, and incorporated it here in South Florida, because it definitely is not common.
Awesome. And that's why you got the 40 under 40. So how big is your business? I mean, what size are you today?
Yeah, so right now we're a team of 10, and hopefully this year we can go a little over $1.4 million. So we're rocking.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome. And are you expanding? Are you still focused in the Miami market, or what is your growth projections from that perspective?
Yeah, so one thing that we learned from the pandemic was that we didn't have to, and it was kind of weird, because being a technology company, you can really work anywhere.
Mhm.
But prior to COVID, we had an office, and you had everybody come to the office, and an hour in traffic, and then drive back an hour of traffic. And we really were regional in the South Florida market, the Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach market. But afterwards, we realized, wow, we can actually work anywhere, and we can go to states that may have a higher hourly rate for staff, and I don't want to say undercut them, but we can be very more valuable as far as our services, especially when like for example, a state like California, where a service like mine can be 30-40% more just because of the living wages there. So we
Right.
actually did take advantage of that and we expanded. We actually have our COO. She lives right near you
Okay.
um, in Naples, in that vicinity, Lee County. And then we also have clients in Orlando. And we've managed to work where if an onsite is needed, there's plenty of 1099 gig workers that we can find to help that client. But 90% of the work that we do now is remote. As long as the client has internet, we can log into their systems.
Awesome. And I worked at Wells Fargo back, I mean, been like 10, 15 years, and we were virtual then before virtual was
Oh, wow.
from, yes. So I definitely can, I know we can do it, right? And it's easy to expand that business because we can work remote. So, but the challenge for you as the leader is how do you connect the people when you are working virtually?
Yeah, so we really foster a team of culture. I don't like to use the word family because sometimes you have to depart from family. So I don't want to give any bad perceptions and then they have a bad taste in their mouth. But we do morning huddles. So every morning, we for about 30 minutes from 8:30 to 9 o'clock, we're all talking. Every Friday, we have a FaceTime Friday where you have to go on your Teams call and you have to turn on your video. And our COO, she's a champion of culture and she says, ask them how's, one positive thing about your personal life and about your business life on the work side life. And once a quarter, we also do meetups where, we're going to have as much people that can physically come and let's go have lunch, let's go have dinner, happy hour, whatever the case is. So yeah, we're managing it, and the interesting thing is our team is all spectrums of ages. We have the young millennials, well, they're not young anymore, the millennials, right? Of the Z's
Getting
to the
old.
to the older staff. So they've all adapted, and I think they love the opportunity to be able to work from home.
Awesome. And so what's the requirement? I mean, what's your ideal team member? Are they in the cybersecurity space or do they vary?
So our requirement is the culture, and I can teach anybody cybersecurity, right? If you have an open mind, I can teach you IT, but I can't teach you personality. I can't teach you to talk with a smile. I can't teach you where if a client is on the other line and it's the most ridiculous thing that you're troubleshooting and you're trying to help them find the power button on the computer, but you got to do it as if it was your mom and you're being as patient as you can. So that's the number one thing. You don't have to have a degree. You obviously you need to have some background, of course, but you don't have to have a 4-year degree or a master's degree. We can work on that because a lot of times too with the schools, they will kind of teach their way, but then at the end of the day, you're going to be coming into our workplace with our different tools and our different systems. So a lot of times I like to get them when they're not molded, so that way they don't have their ways. I can kind of mold them the way we need them to be molded.
Oh, perfect. And you're really looking for that attitude and motivation, right? So that's
Yeah.
amazing. So what are some of the other things that really take your business beyond average?
So, in addition to the culture, one of the things that we differentiate is going back to keeping our word. Perfect example. The other day we did a big job at one of the very big client in here in South Florida, and we quoted them a certain dollar amount, and we did wrong because and I'll be honest on live TV, right? Our assessment wasn't the best. We missed a couple of things, and what was supposed to be a 3-day project turned out to be a 10-day project, and we lost our shirts. And had we done the assessment, we would have been able to provide the client the right dollar amount, and they probably would have said yes. But we stuck to our word. I told them, look, this is what we quoted you. It's our fault. You shouldn't have to now look bad in front of your board or your manager and things like that. This is what you budgeted for. This is what we're going to do. Another thing is, when it comes to our prices, in our industry, although we're a service industry, but it's very similar to, like, for example, if you're going to get your home remodeled, and the you may have some construction, some drywall that you want to rip out, and a lot of times the construction guy knows that the beams may need to be changed in the back, or he knows that, wow, you have a 50-year-old house, most likely you're going to have to redo your electrical. But what does he do? He just gives you that price. And then after that, once he opens it, he's like, oh my gosh, hey, look, who would have thought? Your 50-year-old house also needs this. This is how much extra is going to be. And what we like to look at is, we don't tell the client, we like to tell them, in a 3-year time span, after we've done the assessment, in a 3-year time span, this is how much it's going to be, so that you can be up to par and get your systems where you go. We're not just going to come as a lowest bidder, then come back and then do change orders and so forth like that. So we're very, I guess the word is integrity, to sum it up.
That sounds like a great business model too. So I'm sure they appreciate that, because I think business owners fear what security is going to cost them, right? And it's escalating. It's getting tougher and tougher to keep track of these guys. So, so your mom encouraged you to take this path of entrepreneurship. I mean, do you have any advice for an aspiring entrepreneur that you'd like to share?
I would say do it. Do it while you're young. I mean, you can be older too, but if you're aspiring, do it. No matter what your age is, because if you don't, then what? Then you're going to be living with the what ifs. Then you're going to be looking outside the window. And, when you do make the jump to be an entrepreneur, maybe you do something like me. When I met that guy in Miami Beach, my business partner, right, in air quotes, we didn't go full time 5 hours a week, and he started my payroll. I told my existing employer, my at the electronics store, hey, instead of 5 days full time, I need to go to 4 days. Okay, I need to go to 3 days, 2 days. And then eventually I was able to then go full time on that. And that took 3 or 4 years. And I believe that, we live in that microwave culture now. We live in the YouTube, where you can watch a YouTube, and, in a 20-minute video, this guy's going to talk about how he took his trucking business from zero to $200,000. And now, oh, let me go ahead and pay him a consulting fee to find out how to do that. And it turns out that, it really wasn't true. Things take time. And I like to say, it's like a crock pot, not the microwave. So
Nice.
so yeah, so in that process of making the jump, there are going to be times where, you jump and you have the parachute, and the parachute may not open, and you may hit a couple of cliffs. Steve Harvey says this very well. And you may hit a couple of cliffs, and you may, go up and down, but at the end of the day, it is worth it. I wish I would have done it even sooner.
And you were young. So, well, congratulations on building a great business. It sounds like you have a great team and you're a great leader. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you the best as you grow this year.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.